discrimination in entertainment. And you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. They hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Baratans too, cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. Fed up of the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up of the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look with the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing.
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Kaldata from City, Vietnam. And since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my ex next to the cop. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Go. Check it. 2 more things. See that? Look, she's running with the food. She's running with it. She's running, yeah. Good.
Put it, the man. Put it. Yes, sir, you pay to. Put it there, sir. Come, the man. Come now, stop irritating me, man. You have to play yourself, I ain't to play yourself. So put it here, son, the man, maybe win. Hey, man, stop up, the man. Come to spoil, man. You can't help you, man.
There seems to be no oversight from any engineer. The Public Works Ministry seems to have a Wild West situation. Contractors just come and do whatever they do. You notice they planted some lampposts, concrete lampposts. There's no alignment. They just dig holes in the ground, mud, and lay concrete poles. These poles are leaning in all directions. We even had a situation where one of the poles leaned and the wires connected, and there was a big blackout and fire in the area.
I think Mr. Ben would have talked about GPL coming and putting down these concrete posts. They did it in such a, I want to say, ineffective manner or unprofessional manner. For some of these posts, the mud that they removed to put the posts in the ground have been left in the drain.
Nothing. We have heard nothing about what the PPP is doing to correct the problems there in South. Absolutely nothing. So they destroy the people's stuff, damage their things. That's it. It's the end of it. That's how they treat those sort of people in South, if you know what I mean. Those sort of people in South. That's what they do. Corrupt, racist PPP regime. They've got to go. Look, they've got to go. Some of you guys might say, hey, I'm on here. I'm not even saying good night. Well, this is 2025. We are rocking and rolling 2025. We're ready. We are ready. If you guys are ready to remove the PPPC by every and any legal means necessary, you want to catch me in the slips, right? Not me. All right. Hey, guess what? It's 2025. We are going to do more than just rocking and rolling. Some people are of the view, some folks spoke to me and they said, Mark, you're not on any longer. We don't see you at 9 o'clock. Well, we're not on at 9 o'clock. We were on at 8:30. Here's why we're on at 8:30. because now it's 9:30 in Guyana. And we know people after a hard day's work from whatever little walk they get to do. Because there's no work in Guyana unless you're connected to the corrupt PPP regime. And if you're not connected to them in that circle, if you're not in that circle, then you suck salt. In order to survive, you got to be in that circle. And if you are outside of the circle but close enough to the circle, they're going to throw little crumbs and give you. And then you take that little crumbs and you give some other people crumbs. So basically, Guyana, according to the PPP regime, is only crumbs you deserve. That's the Guyana, that's the PPP regime. Only crumbs, but their friends and their cronies and families, all of them living the high life. All of them, fancy cars, fancy Jeep, fancy truck, fancy dress, fancy bokta, fancy all sorts of things. That is what's happening in Guyana at this time. Guyana needs leadership. Leadership that could take you into an area where all Guyanese are comfortable. Real leadership, not leadership out of emotions and no. Be careful, guys. I know you guys are running around. You guys, be careful. You can't say. I think there's Dennis Brown, right? One of the reggae songs say, "Can't say me never did I want you." Do not be fooled, guys, out of emotions. Do not be fooled, Johnny Haynes and others. Do not be fooled. Can't say me never did I want you. Guyana deserves better. Guyana needs strong leadership, not kunumunus. Again, I repeat, not kunumunus. Be very careful, guys. Guyana needs to go back on track where it was under Forbes Burnham, under Desmond Hoyt. We give Chetty mess up a little bit, but we give Chetty a little points here, right? But the most corruption was on the Brat Jagdeo. Corruption, racism, blood running like water all across the country. And then you got to give David Granger kudos too. Kudos. You got to give some like that big hair, Duncy Pie Goat guy, right? Got to give David Granger kudos for the coalition. If the coalition was still in office right now, the coalition government, trust me, Guyana would have been so much on track. But it's off track. It's like worse than Gymkhana. And I love Gymkhana. How many of you know Gymkhana? I bet guys like Otto Martin and them know about Gymkhana. Oral Walcott, you know about Gymkhana. Diane Mitchell, well, she's a mega country girl, so she probably knows about Gymkhana. Hey guys, hey, good to see you. Happy New Year. But let us not just say Happy New Year. It's got to be a working New Year for you guys. Because guess what again? Lion Jagdeo has to go. Lion Jagdeo has to go. This banner or whatever you want to describe him. It's 2025, right? And you guys know I'm not going to behave myself in 2025. It's bacchanal. Jagdeo, I said this guy, but look, I pull that back and say whatever you want to call him, right? It's okay. Hello, good night, and welcome to Straight Up. The PPP is in pickles. Jagdeo is trembling because he knows that his back is against the wall. Kind of like a custom there position that he likes, politically speaking, that is. Hey, how are you guys? Let's get straight down into business. It's not a Best Buy request or whatever, but we got to carry the pressure on Jagdeo and the PPP. We got to intensify the pressure. Those who are on the ground and who love some of them who love to say we are on the ground. Well, if you guys are on the ground, y'all walk on the ground. It's 2025. And if you don't want us to go up the road, I'm talking about those opposition MPs, come put your hands on the screen and touch my hands. And at Ferguson, where are you? Touch my hands. Ganesh Mahipal, touch my hands. Dinesh, touch my hands. That lazy one out in Linden. Nothing personal against the guy, he's okay, but he's lazy. He's a lazy politician. I don't want to call anybody's name. It's 2025. I don't want to call names. And I promise you guys, I'm not going to call names. And if you guys want me to say who is the lazy MP out in Linden, I am not going to call names. Y'all are not going to set me up, because Devin Sears, I know him, and I'm not going to call his name. Do not set me up. Good night to Devin Sears or whatever his name is out in Linden there. But he's lazy. Who else is lazy in the opposition? Look, there's nothing personal with those guys in the opposition. They got to work. They got to work, Little Park and others. They've got to work. This is an elections year. You can't talk about when we get into government. Oh, you're going to get into government, sit down in a chair just like that, and you're going to get in. Somebody going to come and heist you up and put you there, and heist you up and dump you there. You got to work. Guys at Congress Place, you've got to work. One of the R&B singers say, work some song named Work. I think it's Rihanna, right? Work. You got to work, guys. Don't let your bumps raise when people try to identify faults and whatever it is and try to correct you, then your bumps raise. You get all antsy. You start to throw tantrums and all manner of things. Yeah, Mark, your narrative, sometimes I wonder who is paying you. You confront them on issues, and then they're wondering who is paying Mark because of his narratives. And so the narratives, let me say goodnight to Wayne Caesar, but because of the narrative, because you call them out, they say, wait a minute, Ben Sharp narrative. Sometimes I wonder. That particular MP might be watching right now. If y'all recognize the voice, it's okay to tell me. Sometimes I wonder because of your narratives. I wonder who is paying you. Give me a break. Hey, good night. Golly God, all of you guys. If you haven't shared the link as yet, let people know that we're on at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, which is 9:30 Guyana time. Look, who do we have tonight, man? We have an executive producer. I'm not going to call her name. We now have an executive producer. But guess what? Jagdeo was talking and all manner of things and giving the impression that 75 years. Well, look, we are going to set the record straight. Where is the former Prime Minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana? You guys know who I'm talking about, right? Because there's only one former prime minister right now that could set the record straight. Tony Hawk, this is 2025. I wouldn't hesitate to put you on timeout, block you for 1 week. I will. I'm warning you, Tony Hawk. You will be blocked for 1 week. Hear what Tony Hawk's saying here. Mark, where is your friend Annette Jagdeo Ferguson? I'm not, nobody's setting me up. Nobody is setting me up. Not even Francine Cruz. Nobody is setting me up. Y'all see Annette Ferguson, here she come on. She said, Mark. Y'all know how Annette song, right? Mark, a pleasant night to you and all your listeners. Happy New Year. Annette is in the house. Y'all carry the bottle up on Annette. Annette is in the house. Good night to you, Miss Ferguson. Y'all got to walk. But anyways, look, we got to talk. Hamilton Green is with us. And, I say Hamilton Green, he allows me to call him Hammy sometimes. He allows me to call him Uncle Hammy. He allows me to call him all sorts of things. But he is the former Prime Minister of the Cooperative Republic. He was the youngest General Secretary of the People's National Congress. Not Reform. Reform only came about the other day, And then he was a minister. And then he was the mayor, the longest-serving mayor of Georgetown. Couple of times I asked him to, get up from the seat. Let me sit down there a little bit now. Get up a little bit from the seat. Let me sit down a little bit as mayor of Georgetown. Mr. Hamilton Green, good night to you, my friend. How are you, sir?
Not bad, Mark. And all the
good
best
night.
in the new year.
Thank you so much.
Hope that fortune will bring the people of Ghana the wealth that is theirs.
Thank you so much. Yeah, lots of people are being denied the good fortune. And I'm glad that you've reminded us of that. And good night to you and also your lovely producer, who's responsible for making sure that you're on here tonight with us. Say thank you to the producer. She knows who she is. But let's get straight into business. Let's get straight into business, sir. 75 years. Jagdeo jumping up on a mountain top and saying 75 years of PPP and celebration. They're not celebrating, celebration. You have been there for the most part. Talk to us about where Jagdeo has gone wrong with this 75 years of PPP. Talk to us, please, sir.
Well, first, Mark, I didn't hear all of his statements. I heard just a few minutes, somebody pushed my attention. And the first thing I would do is recommend for fiction writing. He's very good at that. And no one can deny the ability over the years, particularly under his stewardship, of the PPP being able to mount effective propaganda campaigns. And they're masters of that. You can't stop them. I heard so many things that are inaccurate. I'm not too sure where to begin. As I said, I didn't hear everything. But let's begin with what he calls the history of the party. When Burnham returned to Guyana, sometime before they had already formed a public affairs committee with Justin Hull, the two Jagans and Ashton Chase. Burnham entered the fray because of his talent and his ability to articulate the feeling of the people. He became chairman of the People Progressive Party. A lot of people forget that. And when that is, for the first time in 1953, ordinary opportunity. As a 19-year-old, I campaigned with Burnham and Jagan and threw myself into the fray. And I think we did a pretty good job of the colonial powers and the ultra-right. The PPP prevailed and won the elections in early 1953. And I remember being present when the people,
Mr. Hamilton Green, just one quick second. Just one quick second, please, sir. Mr. Green, one quick second. We want to be able to have. Yeah, 1 second, please, sir. We want to ensure
logistically off Brick Dam into the compound.
Yes, Mr. Green, one second, please. If you can.
6 ministers.
All right, we'll have to discontinue that. We'll try to get Mr. Hamilton Green via telephone so that he can continue. The breaking up is way too much, and so sorry about that, Mr. Hamilton Green. We'll have to get you via telephone, and if you guys just bear with us for a quick minute, we will try to reach Mr. Hamilton Green via telephone to get a better reception. Sorry. So we are in the process of getting in touch with the former Prime Minister of Guyana, former mayor of Georgetown, former minister. He's also the former General Secretary of the People's National Congress. That is Hamilton Green, the former General Secretary of the People's National Congress, and the youngest. I think he was 23 years old. How old were you when you became? I guess we missed him again there. 1 second, guys. We were trying to get the former Prime Minister to put Jagdeo in his place. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Prime Minister, we'll take it via telephone. Continue with your points, please, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, Mark, I'm here.
Yes, go ahead. Continue with your points.
And I remember the group was led by the three J's: Janet Jagan, Jessie Burnham, and Jane Phillips Gray, the first female members to enter the parliament of our country. After that, the King of England died, and Queen Elizabeth took over shortly after. And there was a lot of discussion within the party. And the PP then refused to send a message of loyalty to the Queen. Burnham said later on that was a misstep. But you must remember, in 1953, we were in the heat of the Cold War, ignited by the speech that Churchill made at Fulton, Missouri, where he was introduced to the students by no less a person than Harry S. Truman, who was just elected President of the United States of America. And during his beautifully crafted speech, Churchill talked about the Iron Curtain being thrown across the Balkans. This ignited a Cold War which consumed the entire world, including countries like in the Caribbean and Guyana. And persons who speak, including our friend Dr. Jagdeo, must understand the events against the background of the world as it was. As a result of internal differences, problems with the British after the Constitution was suspended in 1953, attempting to jail members of the party. There was a disagreement on ideological grounds. And it's important to note that the senior members of PPP, Dr. J. Lapin Singh and Jainiraj Singh, broke off with Burnham. I say this because there's a myth, a misinformation going around about this race thing. From my own experience, neither Jagan nor Burnham were racist. But within the PP belly, even if there were those who were concerned that Burnham, with his intellectual competence, would steal majority of people, having Lakshman Singh and Jainiraj Singh supporting him. And so that allowed for the break of the PPP. Come 1957, we had elections both under the PPP, one PP Burnhamite and one PPP Jaganite. As a youngster, I was there when we met subsequent to those elections. and decided to put an end to this charade about two PPPs and renamed what was then the PP Burnhamite, the People's National Congress, named after parties in India and Ghana. After that, all hell broke loose on the racial front in this country. And Jagdeo is very careful to avoid these facts as he pontificates and tries to hoodwink the young people of this country. Your duty, Mark, and others, is to debunk this deception by Jagdeo and his ilk. Seeing Burnham's advocacy, the fact that he had senior Indians, Indo-Guyanese, supporting him. And we have our suspicion who started it. This thing of Apanjat, let fly. Apanjat, the Hindu term meaning vote for a race. That has consumed this country even unto this day, even though the word isn't used and there's a lot of sophistication. But at the base of it, this was initiated by elements within the People's Progressive Party, then led by Dr. Jagan. And I challenge anyone to deny that. At that time, there was a majority of Indo-Guyanese in the country. And no one else had any reason to promote this nasty word of Apanjat and division in this country.
Thank you so much, dear Mr. Hamilton Green. Also, the distortion in terms of history. Jagdeo wants to give the impression as though that the PPP developed Guyana. He spoke about Black Bush Polder, and I'm all too familiar with Black Bush Polder, and also the University of Guyana, which is a lie because the PPP never developed Black Bush Polder, they never developed MMA, they never developed UG. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, UG, Dr. Jagan had what was called a night school. That was a far away from a university. And it was Burnham, when he got into office in 1964, who advanced the issue to make it a full-fledged university. And later on, as you know, advocated the idea of free education from university, from nursery to university. And the PPP today, with this abundance of cash, ought to be doing that instead of this nonsense and propaganda they're talking about all over the place. Because the money is there, train more teachers, pay teachers a better salary, and take us to another level of education in this country. Instead of what they're trying to do, bringing people from Bangladesh, giving over 100,000 Venezuelans and others citizenship, clearly for political purposes. And this is the irony and the crime being delivered to the people of this country. On Blackbush, like UG, Blackbush was an ordinary scheme. It is the PNC that developed it to what it was and what it is today. MMA scheme, Maikoni, Mahaika Bari, was developed by the PNC to ensure that we made optimum use of bridging those three rivers so that our people can produce more agricultural products in particular rice for export, and sugar. Today, the Ghana Sugar Corporation is a woeful mess, wasting millions every day, all because of poor management and the inability of the People's Progressive Party to do all the things that are necessary to turn things around. And Mark, the joke is, you hear them talk about heads will rule. No heads are going to rule because those heads to be ruled are Freedom House children. And so we have to ensure that the young people are not disengaged from the challenge to change this country around, particularly with the abundance of cash as the new year opens. It's our duty to share with them the facts. And they're very good at propaganda. I've heard all sorts of things.
You know, one of the things, Mr. Green, and I know I took a few minutes of your time. I wish we saw you on video. But what about the rigging of elections? And before you speak, sir, I just wish to remind folks that the 1997 elections vitiated. In other words, there was corruption, and Jagdeo was squatting in office for 4 years. Then the questionable 2001 elections, and then in 2006, they robbed the Alliance for Change a seat. Sam Hines sat in a seat illegally for 5 years. And then they attempted again to rig in 2011. Then in 2015, they attempted to rig again by wanting to stop the counting. And in 2020, we already know what happened: regime change, corruption on the part of the PPP regime. But talk to us about what you know about rigging of elections by the PPP.
Rigging is the favorite term of the PPP. Here, I speak with passion and from personal experience. And I say that just as an example. In the 1961 elections, I was asked by Burnham to contest the Houston constituency. That is some point between Agricola Farm on the east bank of Demerara. It was what we call a marginal seat. With the racial thing going, you had but Indo villages and Afro villages. It was a tough fight. But because of the rascality of the PP agents, they won by a narrow margin. The matter was taken to court, and the judge named the major actor of the PP. And I remember the words of the learned judge, Justice Aubrey Fraser, a very highly respected judicial functionary. He referred to the PP man as a man of meager moral fiber and deemed the elections null and void and ordered a by-election. That's in 1961. We carried a campaign, Houston by-elections, Houston by-elections. The PP never facilitated those elections. So what you call it, rigging or what? What you call that?
Rigging, blatant rigging.
These are personal examples of Hamilton Green. I was a candidate. So it denied me an opportunity to be in Parliament since then. The judge ordered that the High Court ordered that by-elections be held. The PP ignored, and that's another aspect. The PP has no quantum, no measure, no problem. They subscribe to the importance of the judiciary as one arm of governance, the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. That is why, for reasons which I needn't mention, they have refused to appoint a substantive chancellor and chief justice because it is their want to manipulate every single facet of life in this country. And to repeat myself, they're very good at propaganda. And people like you, Mark, must not give up. Don't surrender. Because we owe it to our children and their children to tell them the other side of the story and not to be consumed and fooled by the narrative of this PPP. Many of them don't know anything at all. They weren't even around. I was, and I'm prepared to speak, not secondhand, but firsthand. I heard, for example, him talking about getting money from the CIA. I don't know about that. During the period under reference, I was General Secretary of the People's National Congress. What I know is that the letter from the Dr. Jagdeo, the PPP, asking checks for help, material and financial. What I know, that help came from certain sources. And that explains how you had high-powered rifles in rice bags discovered on the wharf, the rice bags in Bold Wharf in Water Street. And I can tell you about many other instances. So this charade about who did what. And the Cold War, as I said, was all consuming. So when they talk about Burnham getting money from the CIA, as I said, I was unaware of it. But let them say where all the money and other assistance came from the Soviet Union side. The world was polarized by the Cold War and split in two. So this narrative presenting the PP as the angels and the PNC as the devils is unfortunate, it's untrue, and it's just something we have to deal with now and in the foreseeable future.
Well said, Mr. Green. Before we go, we have Thomas Anderson with us. Tom is preparing. We got some other issues to discuss as well. Mr. Green, talk to us. Talk to us about monies to build a National Cultural Center. And some folks get the impression that all of this money was used from some Indian funds. What's going on?
Absolute nonsense. First, we need to go to the background of this. And if you bear with me, I will. In 1926, a highly respected Pandit Sharma came from India and met with groups of Indians in this country. The largest meeting was at Metamir Zor on the West Demerara. And the records are there. At that time, the British had allocated sums of money for Indo-Indians who had come as indentured laborers who wished to return to India. A few made use of that opportunity. But when word came back, they didn't have television and cell phones at that time, that conditions here, harsh as they may have been, were better than India at that time. No other immigrant expressed an interest to return to India. And those funds were there. When the time came in the 70s to build a cultural center to serve all Guyanese, Indo-Afro-Chino-Amerindians. That was the basis of building a national, I repeat, a national cultural center. Burnham consulted the Mahasabha led by Sister Rhine and the other Ramsrups and other people, and they felt it a good idea as a token to use those funds to build the cultural center. The money was a small sum, couldn't even build the wall of the cultural center. It was therefore utilized as a token to ensure that the cultural center was part of every Guyanese. As you walk through the door, whether it be Amerindian, Afro, Indo, Chino, Poto, whatever, that you see yourself as part of this magnificent effort, the cultural center, which was not finished in time for Carrie Festa 1972. At that time, the cultural center was used. We had to put thatched roofs for the roof and the walls. And even that was a beautiful display. So that this thing about using Indian money it's a misnomer, it's a myth, the idea, and Burnham consulted the reputable Indo-Guyanese organizations at the time. And they agreed it was a good idea, and we proceeded.
Quickly before
and it's interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's interesting.
Sorry.
With all that noise they made, when the Indian Prime Minister was here recently, they took him to the culture.
Absolutely. Before we go, Mr. Green, it's funny that Jagdeo talks about all these things, and there's no evidence that the PPP ever developed much. It was the PNC, Black Bush Poland. Didn't develop much at all, if anything. The only thing the PPP developed is hatred. No, I'm saying that. No, much. I'm saying that the PPP didn't do much. Much. Not much.
But he's right, you know. I tell you why he's right.
No.
They developed the killing of many young men in this country.
Yeah.
That's much. They developed the killing of Arthur Abraham and his 7 children in Hatfield Street. They did much. They developed the bombing of St. Chapman at Hobadiah. And I can tell you a little more than that. So he's right, they developed much. A lot was developed. They created a cadre of young men to kill and maim other people. Bodies spring up all over the country. They developed major lines along these coasts.
We have Tom Anderson.
People
we have Tom.
Group.
Thank you so much. We have Tom Anderson with us. Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. But it's funny how they don't tell you that all of the holidays that we're celebrating right now, whether it's Diwali, Pagwa, Yuma Nabi, all these different holidays, compliments of Burnham and the PNC. They don't talk about those things, though. They don't talk about free education from nursery to university. They don't talk about those things at all. Mr. Green, thank you so much, though, for your time. I'll invite you back very soon. Very, very soon.
Anytime. And if you give me notice, I may be able to do some more research to go into some more details.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Mark,
yes, sir.
A happy New Year. And let me say, you have a task to perform, to shed light where there's darkness and knowledge where there's ignorance, and to deal with this dynamic element that faces this country at a time when there's an abundance of money that should make every Guyanese happy, comfortable with God's given resources. And I have a theory being brought up by my parents that if we don't make optimum use of this bounty and these blessings, it can become a curse. Mark, stay in the forward line so that we bequeath to your children and my grandchildren and great-grandchildren a country that is truly free and free of these devils we have prancing around as politicians. God bless you.
Well said. Thank you so much. Please give my regards to everyone in the house. Everyone, especially, you know who, my cook-up friend. You know who.
Yeah. But she did. She did cook up for you. It's nice, you know.
Yeah, you know who. Yep, give her my regards, please. Thank you so much, Mr. Hamilton Green. Don't be a stranger. We'll invite you back right here. We have Thomas Anderson with us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. General Secretary. Everything. Thank you, sir.
God bless. Thank you.
God bless you too and your family. All right, former Prime Minister there, Hamilton Green. Hamilton Green with us. Tom Anderson is with us now. Tom, good night and thank you for your patience, my friend. Appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead, Tom. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Good night, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Yep, Happy New Year. Let me just say to people, I call Tom at the last minute. I say, hey, Tom, come and join us. Tom is always ready, and that's what we like, fighting spirit. Tom has always been like that. Very few people, very few. Some of them, you call them in Guyana, they're supposed to be representing people. Man, you should have called me ahead of time. Man, you should have given me notice. Man, a busy, man, a tired. But not Tom Anderson. Not Tom Anderson, not Hamilton Green, not a few others. Tom, Happy New Year to you, man. How are things?
Thanks, man, Mark. Things are great, Mark. Happy New Year. I hope everything is great for everyone. I'm wishing everyone in Guyana a happy, blessed 2025, a healthy one, and a very fortuitous one for everyone.
Thank you so much. You're listening to the former Prime Minister there, Hamilton Green, about, of course, Jagdeo trying to twist history. And what Hamilton Green did there, the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, set the record straight. What was going through your mind, sir?
No, I was, it's more the same. We have the same issues going on here, just on other issues. But yeah, it's an everlasting battle between the people who want to use, partial truths, half truths, and to their political advantage, versus the people who just want to live in truth, period. However that may be, no matter how bad it might seem, let's just know the truth. Let us live in that and go from there, right? So that's the battle, right? And that's what he was exposing just now.
Yep, the truth indeed. And we got to continue. We got to continue to spread the truth. We've got to do it. Some folks were texting Houston constituency, Hammy was robbed. Elections rigging by the PPP regime. Come on. Don't buy into the lies of the PPP regime. Lots of things happened under Jagdeo's presidency. Ronald Gadraj was, according to the U.S., according to information, was part of a killing squad in Guyana. A killing squad. The United States, the Canadians, and the UK, the British, revoked his visas. Killing squad all happened under Jagdeo's presidency, where hundreds of young men were slaughtered, and some women under questionable circumstances. A woman, a hardworking vendor by the name of Donna McKinnon, slaughtered in front of Freedom House. No justice. Another woman out there in Buxton, slaughtered, no justice. Hundreds of young men slaughtered, no justice. But yet Jagdeo has the temerity, as they would say, to come and talk and to make it look as though, and we're talking about Gadraj, visa revoked. We're talking about the man who was acting commissioner of police, Floyd McDonald, U.S. visa revoked. We're talking about these two guys, visa revoked. PPP MPs, Dharam Lal, visa revoked. PPP MP, Dharam Kumar Siraj, visa revoked. Permanent Secretary May Thomas Tucson or whatever, visa revoked. Clement Rohi, visa revoked for a short while. Then we've had an operative of Al Qaeda. What's his name again, Tom? You've been tracking
Shukra Juma.
Shukra Juma.
Adnan Al Shukra Juma.
Al Shukra Juma. Tell us a little bit about what you think whether he may have been in Guyana or not, if you care to.
Well, yeah, he escaped from us, and he was one of the masterminds of 9/11. He was actually schooled in Canada on how to make a nuclear weapon, and so he was tasked with the job of doing a nuclear explosion in the United States. He took part in 9/11, and when we came after him, he fled to Guyana, according to reports. And then from there, I guess, to Pakistan, where they finally killed him. So yeah, that's, and then you've got I think his name was a Professor Sami Al-Arian, I believe, at the University of South Florida. He was caught up in a terrorism thing, I think, some type of terrorism funding thing or something like that, and he ended up getting a visa from Guyana to be able to leave the United States while he was under investigation. I think while he was actually indicted, or about to be, or being investigated, to about to be indicted. So there are connections between Guyana and the people running the nation, the PPP mainly, and their connections to different Islamic groups in the Middle East. And that's a big problem. On top of that, there's been a long history in Guyana of allowing terrorists to get into the United States with falsified documents, getting in with visas and then disappearing and not going back when they're supposed to. So you've got a lot of that going on, smuggling, on and on and on it goes.
Smuggling on and on it goes. The PPP allowing that, they're facilitating that. And Tom, you are correct in terms of tracing this guy, Al-Shakri Druman. Maybe that is why a sitting minister, another minister of Home Affairs, maybe Clement Rohi can say whether his visa was pulled, because here's a headline: Al-Qaeda terrorist who had Guyana passport killed in Pakistan. It was rumored that this terrorist was in Guyana under the PPP regime, shielded by some business people who are connected to the PPP and allegedly with the knowledge of people like Jagdeo and so forth. When they were tracing him, did they come up with any evidence that he was actually hiding out in Guyana?
I believe they did. And from just the work I did back in the past on everything else, there was evidence that he was here. Well, he was in Guyana. I'm not in Guyana right now, but he was down in Guyana. So there was evidence. And it looks like that's the reason why he had to leave to go to Pakistan, because people over here started to figure it out, and he had to leave and go to Pakistan. So that was from what I remember and everything I did on that, with the work in the media and whatnot. Yeah, he was definitely in Guyana for a time.
Absolutely. So shame on Bharat Jagdeo, shame on the PPP regime. And you touched on a point, because a lot of folks from other parts of the world, out there in Asia and so forth, they were able to go to Guyana, get Guyana passport, just like Al-Shakri Juma, got a Guyanese passport, compliments of some corrupt people in the PPP regime government then. Some of them are still in government today. Was able to get passports in Guyana and came through the borders of the U.S. How dangerous is that now?
Well, you can see if anyone can go onto WikiLeaks and look at the State Department cable leaks that they put out, and if you just look at Guyana, you'll see that there are entries in there with names of individuals who we considered to be terrorists who came into the United States with visas from Guyana that shouldn't have gotten visas. And when they got here, they disappeared and we couldn't find them. There are cable entries like that. So this isn't some make-believe thing. This happens. Okay. And then let's not talk about how we had our own United States embassy officials were corrupted as well, involved in trading gold and whatnot for being able to get visas into the United States. So this has been a long problem going on down there, and it's a corruption thing. It's flat out, it's a corruption thing, which is why I've been working, Mark, with you for the last 15 years, coming on talking, because here in the United States, we are having a problem with the corruption that comes out of Guyana. It affects us because we have like government officials here who are being bribed by different business interests in Guyana to look the other way when they're doing things like giving flags to vessels, to Iranian vessels that are under sanctions, that type of stuff. It's
So let
so,
me,
yeah.
go ahead. Continue, Bill, on your
Well,
point.
when you have that kind of corruption, where even in present day, the government of Guyana is providing flags to Iranian vessels that are under sanctions. What are we talking about? And then the thing is they come up here and they visit us. They're smiling and they're giggling like everyone's friends when they know that they're allowing the Iranians to get around sanctions by flagging their vessels. This is the type of stuff, and it has been happening over and over again. And they never change the PPP. That's the problem. They never change. No matter how many times they get caught, they find another way to do some type of corruption, and it's getting to the point where it's absurd because there's no reason for it at this time at all. I could see in the past when there wasn't that much money coming in that they were doing corruption because they needed money, but they don't need money. They've got so much coming in from the oil wealth that it's like, it's amazing why they just can't give it up. And I don't think they know any other way but corruption.
Let me ask you this in terms of Guyana's flag being used on vessels such as the Iranian and the other parts, Syria and so forth. We all know that the PPP regime, the installed regime, knew about those flags being used by the Iranians and the Syrians, yet they denied it. Who are they fooling, Tom?
That's why it's amazing. They think they're fooling someone. I don't know who, but everyone knows, and that's the other thing. It's the emperor. The emperor has no clothes, right? They walk around the PPP smiling and acting as if the entire world sees them as nice guys. No, the world sees them as corrupt dictator type people, thugs. That's how the outside world sees them. It doesn't matter how many times they try to act this way or that way. Everyone outside of Guyana sees them as corrupt thugs, period. So when they go lying, the only thing they're doing is cementing in all of our minds exactly who we knew that they were, which are thugs that lie for no reason when everyone knows that, come on, man, we know what you're doing. It's ridiculous.
Why does he think, though, the PPP, Jagdeo with the Irfan or so forth, that people forgot all? Because remember the Reuters story, the Vice News story, and so forth, serious allegations of corruption by Bharat Jagdeo.
Because there are so many people in the world today who are willing to tell them whatever they want to hear because they want that oil money. So trust me, when it comes, unless they're watching your show, Mark, most of the time, what they're hearing is people telling them how great they are, how perfect they are. No one thinks that you're corrupt, Jagdeo. No one thinks you've done anything wrong. Everyone thinks you're perfect. This is all he's hearing all day long, right? And it's because the people that he has around him, they want that oil money. Like he said, he's open for business, like a 7-Eleven. He's open for business. Let's bring them all in. Well, the people that are coming in that he's open to business to, a lot of them are thugs too. And they're telling him what he wants to hear. But the reality is the regular world outside of the people who are kissing his butt to get at the oil money, they all see him for what he is. And he doesn't realize that. To this day, he doesn't realize it. It's pretty amazing.
Corrupt indeed.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
To this day, he has never answered that question. There's never been any investigations, Tom? Sue, he's still there in Guyana. You followed him. You know about all of the forestry lands that he owns. Remind us again about what Jagdeo did with the forestry land to Sue.
I mean, yeah, he gave away half of the nation's forestry lands to hit the guy that was his tenant on his property. It's ridiculous. I don't even understand how that happens. But that's what happened. Okay, so that guy right there has half of the nation's timber. Ridiculous. Okay, totally ridiculous. So yeah, this is outrageous, corrupt thuggery. Period. And it doesn't have to be this way, right? Because all they have to do is wake up one morning and decide, well, let me not be a thug. Let me actually just do things by the book. And guess what will happen? The oil money will still be there. And as a matter of fact, they might even get more money. So that's the part that's just, it's a head scratcher at this point, because if they continue down this road, all that oil money will become a curse. It will be the worst thing ever for them in the nation of Guyana, because what will happen is truly evil thugs will move in and they will take it over and they will turn these guys inside out. That's just the truth. All right. That's the road that they're going down. And it's unfortunate because it's unnecessary. It makes no sense. But that's the road they're going down. And I don't know if maybe they don't know any other way off ramp to get off the road. But that's one of the reasons why I come on and I speak on this, is because I'm trying to implore them to not go down the road. I'm not trying to knock them off their perch. I'm not trying to take their wealth away from them. I'm not trying to stop them from being great politicians. All I'm saying is the road that they are on and that they're taking the entire nation of Guyana on is a road to destruction. Period. Get off of it. It doesn't make any sense.
And you're correct, Tom, in terms of saying if the people of Guyana don't get their act together, then some evil thugs will take it over. Far worse than these evil thugs, in my opinion, who are in office right now. And majority of our listeners would agree. Tom, isn't it ironic that Bharat Jagdeo is accusing this former prime minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, of being an operative at some point in time, an operative of the CIA. The reason why I'm asking whether isn't it ironic, because it's the same Jagdeo who is said to be an operative of the Chinese Communist Party. The same Jagdeo that is said to have billions of dollars, US dollars, in a Chinese bank account or Chinese bank accounts. How ironic it is, sir, that he's accusing Forbes Burnham of being an operative of the CIA.
Well, you know better than me, Mark. What university did he attend?
Lumumba, out in Russia.
I mean, everyone knows if you attend that university, you're an operative of Russia, of Mother Russia. Period. Everyone knows that. So he can say whatever he wants to say about who's an operative here or who's an operative there, but he went to a university that has a sterling reputation for putting out Russian operatives into the world. Okay.
What about, because he hasn't yet answered or settled this score with whether he has an account in a Chinese bank account with billions of US dollars. He has basically tried to brush it aside to say that wig and lipstick nonsense. Why do you think he's running from that?
Well, you know, there was a scandal very similar. The Odebrecht scandal happened just recently in the entire region in there, where Odebrecht gave out about $200 million to government officials throughout Central and South America to get public works contracts. And so there has been a boatload of that going on in the region. So if it wasn't Odebrecht, then it was going to be the Chinese or the Russians or a combination of everyone. And then you've got the UAE. Basically, what has happened, because there isn't any transparency in most of these nations, there's no transparency in Guyana. What's happened is these guys can cut side deals and no one can tell like what's really going on. They can create offshore accounts in the British Virgin Islands and other places. And in this case with Jagdeo, he can get accounts opened in China and in Russia. He is welcome in those nations, right? And these BRICS nations, when you have accounts there, that entire financial system is separated from the US system and the EU. So you can hide a boatload of wealth over there in the BRICS and no one will ever know. And no one's ever going to speak on it, because the reality is the South American, Central American, Caribbean areas, many nations have a history of politicians enriching themselves off of public works, off of the resources of the land. This is just ingrained in the cultures. And so, yeah, China's coming in. These other nations are coming in. Like I said, when Odebrecht is dropping $200 million over a handful of years to pay off government officials throughout the nations in the region, then you better believe China's doing it too, and everyone else.
Of course, Jagdeo is said to be an operative of the Russian Putin and his boys. He's said to be working with the Russians, of course, treasonous there in Guyana, working with the Russians. He was prepared to give a piece of Guyana to Maduro and Hugo Chavez. He was prepared to give a piece of Essequibo. We all know that. He corrupted the country, bankrupt the country, the 200 million. That's just a drop in the bucket, 200 million white elephant. That is the Skeldon Sugar Factory, and billions of dollars wasted on the fiber optic cable, hundreds of millions of dollars wasted on a one laptop per family, lots and lots of things. And yet you guys sit there in Guyana and allow that goon, that corrupt individual, Jagdeo, set to be also an operative of the Chinese Communist Party, set to have billions of dollars in a Chinese bank account. And instead of him answering the question, taking a lie detector test, all he can talk about is lipsticks and wig. Tom, let's move to the U.S. now for a moment. What's happening? New Orleans, a former Army vet, and then also in front of Trump's hotel, a serving member. Well, he was a serving member of the military, active duty out in Germany. The first thing we heard from these guys, Marjorie Taylor and others, is that the borders and immigrants. These two guys aren't immigrants. What's happening? Talk to us, please, Tom.
Yeah, well, this is when you think of democracy and you think of elections, the way elections are won matters. The way that they're run and operated, it matters. Okay, whenever it comes to campaigning, it matters. And what we're seeing now is the reason why. Because Trump, it was not just for this campaign season, but ever since he lost back in 2020, and before that in 2016, when he came down the golden elevator, he has run a political campaign that has said that the people that are outside of our borders are bad people. They're murderers, they're thieves, they're crooks, and everything that's bad in America is their fault. This is the campaign he's run on. It's just the bottom line. And he's done it now since 2016, 2015. So you're talking about 10 years of a guy who's been at the top of leadership in our nation or close to it, campaigning for 10 years straight, saying that outsiders, immigrants are the ones who are creating all of the problems in America. If it wasn't for them, we would be the greatest country ever. We wouldn't have any problems at all. That's what he has campaigned on. That's how he won elections. And the truth is that he won this election this time around because of that message, because there are many, many, many people in this nation who believe that they've done everything that they were told they were supposed to do since they were born. They've played by the rules. They've worked hard, and they're finding in their mid-age life that they're not reaping any benefits. And they're looking around and wondering, well, what happened? I got robbed. And the politicians at the top, instead of saying, oh, well, you got robbed by a billionaire who isn't from this nation, who thrives off of H-1B visas, bringing in foreigners while telling you America first, they don't want to say the billionaire has stolen from you. What they want to say is these people who they don't know from the outside, that's who's stealing from you. And so we have an entire population now, because of how we have campaigned in our nation up and down the ballot. It hasn't just been Trump, by the way. All the politicians in his party who are up under him all ran on the same thing. So we have a massive population in this country who is primed and ready to blame any little thing on an outside immigrant, no matter what it is. And so when we have an event where there's a terrorist attack, the first thing that they're going to say is an immigrant did it, because they're primed and ready for it. And it's sad because if you think about it, we've got a society now that's ready to pounce and hurt people they think are outsiders, right? They want to attack and go after them. And the sad part about it is the problem isn't the outsiders. It's not the immigrants. That isn't what's doing us in. Our problem is, it is some immigrants, but it's not the poor ones. It's not the regular ones. It's not the ones coming in as students Whereas engineers, we have immigrant billionaires who are coming in, and they are the problem because they are robbing us blind. They're buying up our farmland. They're putting our businesses out of business. They're competing with us in ways where they get huge advantages because they're okay with buying off politicians here, and our politicians take their cash. It's called dark money. It's legalized bribery, dark money. That's what we've got going on. Okay, we actually have a system now in America where it's legal to be bribed by a billionaire. A billionaire can put $200 million into your campaign and it's fine. That's called a bribe. And we allow it. It's 100% legal. That's who's robbing from the American people. The guys who are putting hundreds of millions of dollars into the pockets of politicians. That's who's robbing us. It's not the average immigrant. But the problem is that's what these campaigns have won on. We have a public who's ready to see immigrants tossed out and hurt and abused. And it's a sad day in America because those are the people who make us better. Okay, we are a nation of immigrants. We don't need to be hurting immigrants, man. What we need to be doing is dealing with these billionaires who are buying out our country. That's the problem.
That's the problem indeed, and no correction. This is the suspect. This is the guy who we are told blew his vehicle up. Well, a rented vehicle up in front of Trump's International Hotel. Matthew Allen Livelsberger, active duty out in Germany. He didn't cross the border illegally or anything, but yet they quickly jump to blame immigrants. And when the truth comes out, they don't even apologize to the immigrant community. Why are they so? I know you have said what you said, but don't they have any shame, Tom?
No, man, this is how they won the election. Okay, they win elections by doing this. And so they now have to satisfy their campaigns. And by doing that, you just lie and blame everything on immigrants and just keep it going. That's the only thing they can do. That's where we're at now.
At some point in time, it's got to stop, though, because they can hurt innocent people from the immigrant community. We saw what happened with the health insurance guy. He was killed, not by somebody who crossed the border. I mean, someone who went to Ivy League, a pretty educated young man. They didn't say anything about that. And then these two guys the one guy that blew up those people out in New Orleans, our condolences to those people who died as a result of that terrorist act. And then the guy who probably attempted to blow up a Trump Tower, active member of the military out in Germany. All these things, it didn't happen by immigrants who crossed the border. At some point in time, it's got to stop, and the disrespect of the immigrant community. Tom, January 20th is around the corner. What's your take on where do we go from there in terms of America? Where do we go? It's got to be a healing process.
No, man. No, it's just starting, right? It's just starting. We've got some big problems out on the horizon to deal with, economic issues and whatnot. And we are going to have people in place who do good at clicks and getting attention, but haven't ever proven that they can actually do the real job at hand, right? And so we're going to have a lot of unproven people in positions of leadership. And it's basically, we're just running out there by the seat of our pants, just making it up day by day. And so every day is going to be a new day, and it's going to be some wild stuff, man, for 4 years. This is going to be really out of control.
Really out of control. I know a lot of folks have been calling with regards to, they are really concerned. And these are not folks who are criminals in the U.S. These are some folks who came to the United States for better part of their lives, greener pasture, so to speak. They're very concerned, and that's not the America that we know. This is not the America, and you're correct. This is more about billionaires and wanting to buy out and corrupt the system and so forth, buy out politicians. And when they can't buy out a politician, they threaten a politician that, well, I'm going to make sure that you're voted out of office. Never before have we seen this. What is it? What is America turning now? A little apartheid South Africa? Is that what they want? Tom, your closing remarks, please, my friend.
Yeah, well, this is something that, we've been talking about for a while now. It's now come to fruition. There's no way to predict how this is going to shake out, because if you look at China, they look a little bit shady right now economically. They're not doing too well. They have a devaluation spiral going over there that looks pretty scary. Okay, so you've got this issue with Russia. I don't know if you saw, but Moscow, they didn't even have fireworks for the new year. Now, I'm not saying, I'm sure some previous years didn't have fun, but it's just like, it's so strange. They didn't even have fireworks, man. Their inflation's through the roof. Oh, man, there are so many international issues going on all at the same time. And what we have going on over here in the United States politically is so out of control. The thing that people should look out for is, the House and the Senate, the two houses, the two bodies of Congress. The Republicans only have a very slim majority in both, very, very small. And so Trump is going to be forced to have to compromise and give in on a lot of different things. So this is going to be one wild ride. It's going to be great to see. I'll be here to explain it all, of course. But with that said, man, I look forward to 2025. I'm not scared of the chaos. I like the chaos. I think it's a challenge. I think life is a challenge. Let's take it on. I'm not crying over spilled milk. The Trump is the president. Let's roll. That's kind of how I see it.
All right. Trump said as soon as he got elected, guess what? The war in Ukraine is done with. It's over with. We're still waiting for that day. All right. Again, our sympathies to the folks out in New Orleans, and speedy recovery to some of those. 15 persons have died. Let's hope that there's no more copycats anywhere. But the FBI have a lot of work. Law enforcement officers have a lot of work. We got to look out for. They got to look out for copycats. Maybe in New Jersey, maybe in New York, wherever it is that you guys are. Just be safe, guys. Be safe. Be cautious. Look around. See something? You hear something? Say something. Tom, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And let's take the time out, and I'll do so on behalf of all the people watching, wherever they're watching, to wish you and your family a prosperous 2025.
Thank you so much, guys. Happy New Year. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. All right. And to all of you out there as well, a prosperous 2025. We are going to hold hands together. We're going to do this together. We have went through it all, and we haven't been complaining. But the next set of folks that take over Guyana must understand what patriotism is all about. Government is not about thuggery. And putting the country in the hands of thugs, you've got to be very careful. You can't remove it from one set of thugs and put it in the hands of another set of thugs. Be careful, guys. Be extra careful, if you know what I mean. Opposition politicians, wake up, please. Do what is right. Do what is right. That's all I wish to say for now. Until tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. God bless you all. Have a good rest of the night. Until tomorrow. So long.
Yeah, my name is Jagdeo from Vietnam. And since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my ex next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su. Oh, Su.
Pleasant good night to you, Guyana. My name is David Benjamin, and I live in 65B Station Street, Kitty. Pleasant good night to you, Guyana. My name is David Benjamin.
There seems to be no oversight from any engineer. The Public Works Ministry seems to have a Wild West situation. Contractors just come and do whatever they do. You notice they planted some lampposts, concrete lampposts. There's no alignment. They just dig holes in the ground, mud, and lay concrete poles. These poles are leaning in all directions. We even had a situation where one of the poles lean and the wires connected and the
Put it, the man. Put it. Yes, sir, you play to. Put it there, sir. Come, the man. Come now, stop irritating me, man.
Yes, my name is Jagdeo from Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
So you said valid votes counts,
Pleasant good night to you, Guyana. My name is David Benjamin, and I live in 65B Station Street. Pleasant good night to you, Guyana. My name. Pleasant good night to you, Guyana. My name is David Benjamin.